COVID-19 is surging throughout this country at a growth rate of 30% or more over just 2 weeks. In Texas, hospitalizations are up 35% in 20 days. The CDC today reported that this country has had 300,000 excess deaths this year, so the COVID death toll could be far higher than the official COVID number. And the First Lady, scheduled to accompany Trump to a campaign event Tuesday night, canceled at the last minute because 24 days later, she still has symptoms of the virus. We could be just a month, perhaps just days, away from the exact same kind of nightmarish healthcare scenes and draconian closures and even lockdowns that snuck up last March on the proactively stupid, the psychotically self-absorbed, and the criminally negligent murderers, on Donald Trump. But Trump is tired of COVID-19. 38 times per a report today by the intrepid Daniel Dale of CNN. He has said the disease is disappearing. Now he is trying to usurp pandemic fatigue as his campaign slogan for the closing 2 weeks. He thinks those of us who worry about COVID-19 and report on it and fight it are dumb bastards. And he is so desperate to change the subject that his henchmen tried to change all the topics for Thursday's debate, including the pandemic, to foreign policy. People are tired of hearing Fauci and all those idiots, he told his campaign staff yesterday in what was supposed to be a morale-building conference call, which instead turned out like watching the latest in the endless meme repurposing of that clip of Bruno Ganz as Hitler in the bunker in the movie Downfall. Fauci is a disaster. If I listened to him, we'd have 500,000 deaths. Later, he upped that number to 700,000 or 800,000. Donald Trump, of course, is too stupid to realize that he may yet get that many, especially since he keeps insisting we have turned a corner on coronavirus. Yes, turned a corner and headed straight off another cliff. The University of Washington computer model still predicts at least another 150,000 dead by New Year's Day. It is a goddamned shame that Donald Trump cannot be indicted for every single one of them. Then it was back on the campaign trail with the psychotic in chief tonight in Erie, Pennsylvania, but not with the First Lady. We're turning a corner and it's vanishing magically, but 24 days after she contracted COVID-19 at that White House super spreader event, Trump's wife had to cancel her part in another one of his airport Bund rallies. She still has COVID cough. And Trump? He still has a delusion. They're getting tired of the pandemic, aren't they? He asked his trailer park trash crowd in Arizona. You turn on CNN, that's all they cover. COVID, COVID, pandemic, COVID. They're trying to talk people out of voting. People aren't buying at CNN, you dumb bastards. Translation to human, Trump is saying he had the disease and it didn't kill him yet, and it didn't increase his chances of re-election, so it doesn't matter anymore. And the answer to that? The dumb bastards are his advisor, a radiologist named Atlas, and the people in his crowds without masks, and anybody else who believes in this murder-suicide pact called herd immunity, and of course Trump himself. And finally, the ultimate insult against Joe Biden in Trump's mind. Trump says, quote, he wants to listen to Dr. Fauci. And his dumb bastards in the crowd made a noise that I want to call mooing, but I don't want to be insulting to the cows. There is an old episode of The Twilight Zone. It is set in post-apocalyptic America, and a small group of survivors kept alive by the wisdom of an unseen prophet, identified only to them and to you, the viewer, as the old man in the cave. One day along comes a stray soldier, Major French, played by the actor James Coburn, who mocks the people who are only eating food that the old man in the cave says has not been poisoned with radiation. There's a warehouse full of canned food nearby, but the old man says it was contaminated. So Major French takes the townspeople to the old man's cave, breaks in, and that's when they all learn that the old man in the cave is actually a computer. Major French naturally destroys the computer, opens the cans of food, the townspeople gorge on it, and in the next scene, it's morning, and they are all dead. And Trump is Major French. This newest Trump angle on this awful disease, I'm tired of it. I don't want to talk about it. Fauci is the real villain. I'm a genius. I have the cure. I will give it to you if you reelect me. But don't worry, we've rounded the curve. It's over. It's going away. It's gone away. If that's really going to be his approach to COVID-19 through the election and to January 20th, and perhaps God help us beyond that date, if this really is it, this perfect distillation of his imbecility and his disconnection from reality, then we need him out of office now. If the University of Washington model is correct, there are 86,000 Americans yet to die only because we as a nation are at 50% mask wearing instead of 95% mask wearing. And this belching pit of filth called Trump is the poster demon for not wearing a mask. If all that is true, then the calculation is simple and the equation is clear. Get him out of power, and 86,000 of us live. Leave him in power, and 86,000 of us die. You, as they say, do the math. I'm tired of coronavirus. I'm tired of reporting on it. I'm tired of thinking about it. I'm tired of wearing a mask. I'm tired of not seeing my friends and relatives. I'm tired of that sense of dread going into an elevator or even into this studio. I'm tired of living it. I'm tired of probably having had it in February, but this creature with a cesspool between his ears, Trump, failed America so completely that there weren't even enough tests until long after my antibodies would have dissipated. I'm tired of living in the most scientifically advanced country in the history of the world and having its corrupt, morally bankrupt, diseased, quote, leader, unquote, mock the intelligent and insult his opponent by saying, quote, he'll listen to the scientists, when that, quote, leader, unquote, not only didn't make America first, he made humanity second to a virus which today and for months to come, or maybe longer, because of his criminal negligence, has become the leading life form on this planet. We are all tired. But mostly I'm tired of the needless sickness and the needless death and the needless terror because this mentally incompetent, inhuman, dumb bastard has lied about this disease in 1,000 different ways, a different way for each different political need he has sensed. And I'm tired of the thought that we're now going to repeat the months of March and April in this country, a country that should have learned something, but which in large part has been authorized to wallow and die in its own stupidity because of one man, one dumb bastard, one selfish son of a bitch, one real-life Major French attacking the only hope we have, the science, and insisting science is wrong and Fauci is an idiot and only I can save you, and insisting you can do whatever you want and the disease affects almost nobody. Donald Trump should be on trial for 220,000 murders, death penalty for each count. All right, here are the headlines. Firstly, my thanks to my friend Michael Moore. I appeared on his Rumble podcast this afternoon. We recorded it anyway. I'm not sure when he's posting it. But one thing he asked that I think I should ask you, or at least put in your mind, he said, lastly, what can you do if you're at home, if you're listening to a podcast or watching a video like this one? What can you do about the election 2 weeks from now? Obviously, there are many things you can do in terms of volunteering and making sure that your friends and colleagues and neighbors, and particularly those who would have trouble accomplishing the task, get out and vote or get their vote in by mail or whatever means is available to them. But if you don't want to do that, you just want to do something that doesn't even involve you shifting in your chair at all right now, you can tweet this video or tweet Michael's podcast or write your own thoughts on social media and keep the pressure up. Keep that dynamic against the competitive opponent that we have here. There is not much going for Trump in this election, as there has not been much going for Trump in this life. But what he does have is the ferocity of a fire hose that has been lost of the control of by all the firefighters. And it just goes round and round and round. And all the people with him and working with him are other out-of-control fire hoses. That is what needs to be combated, and the easiest way to do it is to hit the little retweet button or to hit that thing that sends it onto Facebook. The actual news headlines of today: Trump's chief of staff acknowledging that you should not believe anything he says. The chief of staff in the White House to Trump, Mark Meadows, has told in a document to lawyers who are trying to argue this case in front of a judge that all of the Russia documents are now to be declassified because Trump said all of the Russia documents are now to be declassified. Meadows, in his statement, said that that was not an order to declassify or release those records, because that's not what Trump intended to do, even though that's what he said. This is like Fox News defending itself in its various lawsuits against Tucker Carlson by explaining that everybody knows Tucker Carlson is an entertainer who just makes shit up. Number 2, Trump on Fox News today. Again, we are seeing the tell of what he intends to do if he loses the vote and the Electoral College and decides he wants to stay in power anyway. Attorney General Barr, according to Trump, should, quote, appoint somebody to investigate Biden. We've got to get the Attorney General to act. He's got to act, and he's got to act fast. He's got to appoint somebody. This continues to be the tell that I devoted yesterday's program to. Biden is unfit. I cannot surrender power because he's guilty of starting the War of 1812. Fill in the bowl excuse right there. I'm assuming Thursday at the debate that Trump will do something similar to this. He will have this piece of paper in a pocket, and he will reach for it at some point and say, I have here in my hand a list of 207 crimes committed by Joe Biden. Someone will say, let's see the list. And he'll go, no, you can't see the list. It's classified. That's my expectation for Thursday night. CNN poll of averages brings us good news. Across 10 key battleground states, Biden ahead in the averages of the other 3, all of which President Trump won in 2016. 7 are close, but their average polling number has him significantly ahead, Biden that is, in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. A sizable advantage is the phraseology. Bloomberg, meanwhile, is reporting that Trump ran into significant financial trouble during the campaign, which we already knew about, but this is how bad it was. They have been in pursuit of small donors, as in the non-corporate bribe makers. They have been pursuing small donors, and to get $1, they have had to spend 77 cents. This is not quite running at a loss, but given that I believe the number in 2016 for the same dollar was 47 or 48 cents, it shows just how tough it is to get anybody to invest in Donald Trump's campaign. Also, eventually, you will wind up bankrupt, and God knows Trump has been there before. And I will leave you with this. Another quote of the day from Donald Trump, appearing on, where else? Fox News, his house organ, and no organization in media history has ever been better described as an organ than Fox News. Talking about Biden. Quote, there is a chain of thought that there are a lot of people that say let him talk because he loses his train. He loses his train. He loses his mind, frankly. If there is not a song, possibly a rap, possibly pop, based on the lyric, he loses his train, he loses his train, he loses his mind, frankly, by the end of the week, I will be profoundly disappointed in all of you. Good night and good luck.